Alright, hey guys, time for another wrench on. I'm not even going to promise to make this one short. I hope it is, but I've said that too many times lately and it's not happening, so we'll just live with it. I've been thinking about bodies a lot lately. Protoform just announced they've got a Mazda Speed 7 coming out. I was thinking about the LTCRs. We got Asphalt Nats coming up in a few months, and Time Zone Grand Prix. I don't know, just a bunch of different races. I wanted to make sure my bodies were right, get them right. Had lots of conversation with guys a lot faster than me about how to do them right. And that alone, bodies, just that general topic, could take hours, I guess, if you really want to get into the details. So I figured I would let's focus on one aspect, wings. Usually at my track, I see a lot of wings, a lot of different kind of wings, about as many different kinds of wings as there are different people out there. Not different kinds, but just ways to do it, or sizes. And I see a lot of them that are just cut on the mold lines, which is fine. It's one way to do it. If you go to roar races, that's not the way to do it, however. And so I just want to talk about the simplest way I know, or maybe not simplest, but the way that I make sure to get my wings right every time, because it's really tough to get this Lexan to be in the right shape every time. But hopefully this little tip will help, so we'll get to it. Let's see if we can see that. Somebody had suggested that I set my camera on a soft surface so that the background noise isn't so good, or isn't so loud. So got my dryer going in the background. Sorry, I shut this door in. Alright, so I think you can see well enough there. Dealing with this wing, I've just kind of roughly cut it out outside of the largest cut line, and a lot of people cut on this inner. Here I am trying to hold the camera and point at the same time. On this inner cut line, I don't know how well this picks up, but on that inner cut line, and that's still too big for a roar race. And I think from what I've seen, it's probably best just to do it one way, stick with it. You can tune a little bit within that window, but I just try to always cut my wings, get my wings according to the roar rules, which if you don't know, I mean, I'm racing here in the United States, so if this makes it to somebody somewhere else, you might have different rules. I'm using this little tool from Sweep that's got a square that the end plates have to fit into. So this wing I've already done. May not be perfect, but the idea is that you can get it to fit inside that square like that. And from the races I've been to, I've seen, I won't name names, I've seen somebody blow up at a race over this. But what I've seen called the chord is this distance right here. You kind of measure the distance from that top edge to the forward edge of the wing, and that needs to be 40 millimeters at the roar races that I go to. I've seen other people say, well, no, the chord is really, it just needs to make sure that the front and back of it's not longer than 40, but what I see measured is that corner, and this wing is technically not legal. I've just kind of done a rough cut on it, but let's see if I can do it with one hand. So that right there would be legal. I'm kind of flexing it to make it work, but you get the idea. The one last thing that I'm going to try to point out in this video is there's also a distance back, how far back you can mount the wing. And I've got a question for y'all, honestly. If anybody knows, feel free to post up. I believe it's from the farthest point of the body, you have 10 millimeters. I don't know if you can read that right there, but there's 10 millimeters. I don't know if on an LTCR it's got these two little bumper posts. I don't know if they're there intentionally to add some distance back, or if it has to be from the main surface of the body, but you've got 10 millimeters from that point that you can mount the wing back. So you can see I've got a little bit of a gap there if I go by that bumper. If I go by the bumper stop down there, I've got, I don't know, probably another 6 or 7 millimeters, so I could probably go even farther back. But max rear grip, this is going to go on a modified car. Wing, max back if you can afford to lose some rear grip or possibly need some more steering as the grip comes up. You can move that wing forward. I saw Alex Hagberg posted a great tip on a Tuesday about slotting his wing and his body so that you can move the wing back and forth to test it out. That's a great idea. I like that. Anyway, let's get to it. So this is just a Protoform LTCR, lightweight. It's a wing that came off the back. the first thing I'm going to do is I just use scissors. I know there's a way to score this and stuff. You can score them and cut them, and I've had people suggest that to me. I've not really tried it yet, but let's see how well I can position this camera to show you. The top line on the side of the wing is pretty good. Not the top line, but the lower line. If you cut on the bottom of that lower line, in terms of height, that's really close to the 20 millimeter line. So I'm going to cut that out as quickly as I can for you. Maybe you can get a nice shot of my pretty face while we're doing this. Hopefully you don't have to stare at me too long. I really need to get somebody to help me with these videos. This is terrible. I apologize. So I'm going to cut just at the bottom side of that lower line, and I'm going to cut all the way across at that part. I'm using straight scissors right now. Some people prefer curved scissors. When I'm making a straight cut, I usually prefer straight scissors, but sometimes the Lexan gets in the way. So I'm going to stop just about halfway right here so I can get an idea, so you can get an idea. Let's see how well that shows up. I got a bad glare on that table, I'm sorry. So hopefully that cut line shows up nicely. You get an idea. Not perfectly straight. I'm going to come back at the end and hit it with, I forget the name of the tool, Better Edge, something like that. It's a flat protoform tool. I don't see a part number in there, but I'm sure if you go to the site you can find it. A block of wood, sandpaper works just fine, but that's a handy little way to get it done. But to get that top edge smooth so it's not going to cut if you're on carpet or something. Let's go back to finishing that cut. Yeah, so I'm happen to find that these curved scissors are really doing me well right now. And I'm just following the bottom. If you really pay attention here carefully, you'll notice that those mold lines have a thickness to them. So if you're careful with your scissors, you can hit it on the bottom side, and I've found that the bottom to the middle of those mold lines is usually right on the money. Alright, so in terms of height, wing is cut, just scissors. And so far, I haven't really told you anything that most people don't know, I don't think. There's nothing fancy going on here. The next part makes it much simpler for me. I'm going to show you what I use. This is, you don't have to use this. Alright, so, oh, sorry. Mike Darnell, the owner of Mike's Hobby Shop in Dallas, hooked me up with a bunch of these circles he cut on his vinyl printer. I use them when I'm cutting out my wheel wells. I use it in here on a clear body. I don't have any right now to show you, but let me see, I've got something, I'm sure. I just did a body. Of course, I can't find it now. Oh, brother. There we go. So that's what it looks like before I cut it out, and I use the circles just so I have a window to see my axles when I'm cutting it. Well, anyway, this is just scrap vinyl. I was going to throw it away, but I figured I'd keep it and show you how I do this. That's trash. Super high quality. I don't know why anybody continues to watch these things. I'm so sorry. It's either this or nothing, guys. Alright, so I've got a straight edge here, a pretty long straight edge. Let's see how well that shows us what's going on. Not very well. Moving all over the place. And I'm not editing this, I'm sorry. The main idea here is I just want a piece of vinyl that's got a straight edge in it. It doesn't even have to be parallel. I mean, it's kind of nice to have it two edges parallel, but I'm just going to cut myself a nice long slice of vinyl rectangle. It's probably way too long. Better too long than too short in this aspect, in this regard. So I've got a nice dangly little piece of sticky vinyl that just stuck to my pipboard. Not a big deal. And I'm going to use this as a straight edge so that I can mark where to cut, because it's really hard to cut a straight line. Now, I happen to know that on this wing, I think I can explain this. This will help. If you notice, there are, on this particular wing, there's not another version, but I think they redid the mold. It was starting to get long in the tooth, and so this is one of the older versions of the mold. There's 2 dots right here to mount the wing, 2 dots over here. And then if you look pretty carefully, this is the smaller of the 2, and there's kind of a curve right here in the middle, and at the smallest point of that curve, in between this point and an imaginary line drawn from that dot to that dot, which is somewhere right in there, about halfway, right there, more or less just barely in front, or barely smaller than the smallest cut line, parallel all the way across. That's a really good starting point for a wing if you're going for roar legal. So we're going to apply the tape just by eye on that point, and if you don't stretch it, it'll stay straight. So I usually try to attach it in the middle a little bit first. I just eyeballed that. Let's see how well that turned out. We'll get up to the ceiling where we can see a little better, maybe. Maybe not. I have no idea what I'm doing when it comes to videography. I'm so sorry. Yeah, anyway, that's not bad. It looks pretty parallel. You could get crazy, get a pair of calipers out and measure, I guess. Maybe that'll help. Maybe I'll do that now and record this for myself. So it looks to me like maybe, I don't know, 4 millimeters back of the outside edge of that smaller cut line, and that side's 4. Let's see if my eyeballs are calibrated. Not too far off. Maybe a little off on that side, a little long, but within, that makes me happy, and I'm pretty picky, so I figure it's good enough. Let's set this back down here. Now I'm going to take these other little pieces, and the best I can, I'm just going to go perpendicular to the ground up from that point. Just go straight up, smooth it out. Other side, straight up, smooth that out. And you can get picky and cut off the extra, and we'll set that aside. I'll probably use it for something else. I don't know. So here's the end result. You got what looks like a stripe. Looks like I'm going to be painting it or making it look cool. Nope. That is simply to get it cut. Now, what's really nice is I'll come along. I've got a silver Sharpie. I really like these silver Sharpies. I'm like addicted to them. Except I can't find it. There it is. I was using it earlier. For one, don't forget which side of the tape you're cutting on, especially if you made your stick like mine. But I'm just going to come along, and you don't even have to be careful here. Well, first thing I want to do is smooth that out so that there's no room for the ink to smear underneath, but I'm just going to trace that line. You know what, a black Sharpie is going to work a lot better here. I don't know what I'm doing with the silver Sharpie right now. Now I've left the overspray film on here so that I don't even have to worry about taking this black line off when I'm done. I'm just going to trace that nice right there and right there. Boom. I'm not having to be careful here. I like this because sometimes it's really hard to be careful. Alright, so got a black line there. Obviously, you don't want to take the overspray film off now. But now I'm just going to use my scissors and cut away again. Let's see if that gives us a good shot. I think I'm using the curved scissors. That seems to work pretty good. I think I can even take that tape off without getting the overspray film off. Yep. Look at that. Tape comes right off, gets out of the way. I guess I could reuse that. I have another wing over here that I want to do. But I don't care. I'm throwing it away. I got too much junk going on, and I got a race coming up, so it's got to go. Alright, so nice, crisp, black line. all the way around. Holy smokes, I'm so sorry. Take no responsibility if you're having a seizure right now. I'm so sorry. And this makes it very easy. High contrast, black on clear. I'm cutting to the inside of that line because that's where the edge of that red vinyl was. And I'm just ever so carefully taking my time, cutting slow, trying to stay in the same point on that line. Now, I suppose if you're careful with an X-Acto there with the vinyl, especially if you've got a super sharp X-Acto. Oh yeah, this is coming out perfect. What I was saying is if you had a super sharp X-Acto, you could have just traced and used the vinyl as kind of a cutting edge. But I like the scissors. Alright, so trash. And there's the side profile. Boy, what am I doing? I should have painted this wing. That would have made it a lot easier, huh? Trying to film something clear on a glass tabletop with a glare. So there's our ring cut out, and let's just see how I did. I have no idea. Oh yeah, that is right on the money with the cord. I don't know how well that shows up, but the cord right there is right on the money. That's definitely legal, roar legal. Maybe, if anything, it's a hair undersized. I'm not too worried about that. The height is right. That's perfect. The height is perfect right there. Height is perfect there. Let's see. You know, I like to put, you know, maybe on carpet I don't always use it, but when I'm on asphalt I use, what are they called, side dams? I don't know. Some kind of flaps. I put the side dams on there. And the tape that Protoform puts in the package with the Elite wing, that's not an Elite wing right there. That's just the, I guess, thick, hard wing that comes in a package by itself. But the wing, the Elite wing that's pre-cut, that's a really nice feature. You don't even need this video if you're using that wing. But the tape that it comes with is excellent. Super thin, super tacky. You know, some of this tape, like the Scotch exterior mounting tape, is a little thick for my preference on a wing. You don't need it that thick. Not a big deal, I guess. It's just gray, and if you're using a clear wing, it's not, you can't see through it, but it doesn't really matter. It works. It's definitely sticky enough. But like I was showing you earlier, that the circular wheel wells, this is obviously from a rear, and I know that because the fronts have the winglets molded into them. I think I have some old wrappers. Yeah, I cut these out earlier. You don't get to see me do that part, but so they work pretty good. Cut those out. Again, right in the middle of the mold line is perfect, and that's just a matter of scissors. If you need help with that, you need a different video cutting. But on our wing, here's another question for my 6 viewers. If you have good reasoning as to why to mount the winglet or the side dam, let's see if I can get this, either with the excess sticking forward like so, or the excess sticking back like that, I'd love to hear it. My reasoning is I always mount it to the back because that has more leverage on the rear of the body, and if I'm using them, I'm looking for stability usually anyway, like in a modified class or asphalt. So little double-sided tape on there, throw it on there, and you can end up with a wing like this. The next part about mounting a wing, you know what, I've got another body. This one already has the wing on it. Same body, same color, same position and everything in terms of forward and backward, but this wing does not, this body does not have the wing on it. So we can talk about where to mount this wing. So I'm going to get my car out first to help a little bit. Alright. Oh, you got a good shot of my finger there, awesome. So, car on the body, I've got my gauge over here, the sweep gauge. I'm going to use that 10 millimeters again, and yeah, there we go. Actually, I need to put the body of the car off that car stand. There we go. Alright, so we're going to be looking at this distance right here. I wish this thing stood up, that would be nice, but it does not, so we're going to have to see. Almost. If I scoot it back, maybe we can see it. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so here's our wing that we just cut out. And I'm just going to kind of set it on there. I have found that the wings are symmetrical in terms of the mounting hole, so you don't have to worry about coming back and forth like this. As long as you stay in line with the two mounting holes, or on some of the newer molds, it's got an arrow with a double-headed arrow on it. A ray, I guess you'd call it. Anyway, quit nerding out. I'm lining this up with the back bumper, and I'm pushing one edge back until it stops. And then I'm going to look up here, and it just turns out, yeah, so there it is, all lined up. Try not to put any force on it. See if I can do it without moving. And I don't know if you can see it. But the back dimple on the wing lines up with the hole that I've already made. Now here's where I made my adjustment. That hole is not in the back dimple of the body. I started that hole, I don't know if this makes sense. Let's see. So I use this reamer. Doesn't matter which reamer you use, just make sure it's sharp. And I started this hole by putting the tip of my reamer, let's talk about it with this dimple. There we go, that's a good shot. I started the hole by putting the reamer tip at the front of this back hole. So I did this hole right here by putting the tip of the reamer at the front of that back hole, reaming out the right size hole. And I found that if you're going for the max rear wing, which I was on this body, that's a great place to start. Now, like I said, you can move them forward, you can move them back. You can move them forward, you can't move them back legally. But if you want to slot the wing and the body itself, that'll give you some adjustment. You loosen the nuts, move the wing wherever you want to, try to get it close. I don't know if you want to watch me ream this wing, but we'll do it just because I'm all about thoroughness, apparently. So I get it started. I'll ream from one side, and if you think about it, the Lexan has thickness, so I don't always ream it all from one side because I don't want a V profile in there. So it also helps to get some of the little flashing out. There's one, and there's the other dimple. And like I said, if you're just staying in line with these, if you're going to go, backward from here, just stay in line this way with it. There we go. Hey, what do you know? I usually try to undersize these if I'm going to make the hole and leave it in one position. The screw will open it up, and it keeps everything tight. I don't like the wing wobbling around, but that's the hole. Here comes the fun part. We're going to take the overspray off. It's not terrible to use the mounting hardware that the wing comes with. Those blue aluminum screws and that plastic nut are strong enough, that's for sure. I've run them in modified and had plenty of beginners wrecks. They're plenty strong, and they're pretty lightweight. You don't always want to put a ton of weight up way high on the body, and they work well for me. There's lots of other options when it comes to wing mounting, but let's see how we did. That one lines up. Oh man, that's looking good. I'm just realizing earlier we were trying to get that vinyl lined up, and I was telling you about the curve and where to estimate. It looks like just in front, boy, again, I don't know how well you can see this. Let's see if we can get on the dark background. Just in front of that forward dimple is perfect. And that's one of the ways, sometimes molded Lexan is not perfectly symmetrical, but for me this is good enough. That dot, those two dots have seemed to be symmetrical for me, so just in front of that, cut it straight, and you're good to go with your wing. As always, feel free to send me a question. Email address is ANDREWDOHERTY at yahoo.com. And as always, mucho thanks to the, I call them sponsors, really. More like friends, because I talk with these guys a lot. All the guys at RC America, X-Ray, Hootie, top-notch people. Hobbywing doesn't get any better than their customer service and the way they treat people, in my opinion. And David over at Avid takes good care of me. Protoform, Eric and Dale and that team over there, and Gavin at Speed Zone. Thanks a lot, guys. I appreciate all the help, and I hope this video has helped you out. Take care and Rentron.